Level 1. The voice. You're 26 and you work from a one-bedroom apartment doing freelance video and audio production. Voiceovers, podcast cleanup, the occasional corporate explainer. You spend most of your working hours inside editing software, and you've gotten good at the kind of quiet, technical problem solving that nobody outside the industry thinks to ask about. You've been playing with AI voice cloning tools for months. Not for anything specific, just because they're there, and because you're the kind of person who needs to understand how tools work before you can use them properly. You've cloned clients' voices to save re-record time. You've cleaned up interviews that would have otherwise been unusable. It's work, mostly, and occasionally it's just curiosity. One evening you open a voicemail your grandmother sent at Christmas. 3 minutes, her telling you about the neighbors and asking when you're next coming home. And you run it through the cloning tool just to see what happens. Just to test it. What happens is this. The tool produces something that sounds exactly like her. The cadence, the warmth, the way she drops the end of her sentences, just slightly. You play it back twice. The second time it does something to you that you don't quite have a word for, and you close the software and go make dinner. But you don't stop thinking about it. A week later, almost without deciding to, you generate a 30-second clip in your own voice, your real voice, but run through a pitch shift and a distress filter. Younger. Scared. The specific quality of someone who's just had something go badly wrong and doesn't know who to call. You find Helen on Facebook through a chain of 3 public connections, a distant relative's aunt, visible enough that you can see her grandson's name in birthday posts, her city in tagged photos, her daily routine in the kind of small updates people post without thinking. You build the scenario from what she's given you freely without knowing she was giving it to anyone. You call from a spoof number on a Tuesday afternoon. You play the clip first, then speak live over it, filling in the specific details that make a stranger's story feel like someone you love. The car came out of nowhere. The hospital is 40 minutes from her. He doesn't want her to call his parents yet. He's embarrassed, doesn't want them to worry, just needs the wire to clear in the next 30 minutes, or they'll transfer him to a public facility with no coverage for his specific situation. She asks if she should call someone first. You tell her there isn't time and that he asked specifically for her because he knew she'd help without making it complicated. She wires $1,200 in 11 minutes. You can see it clear on the receiving end while she's still saying goodbye. Then she calls the number back. Already disconnected. She tries twice. The third time she sits down, somewhere in a house you've never seen, and she tries to think clearly about what just happened. And then she calls her grandson's actual number. He answers on the second ring. He's at work. He sounds confused at why she sounds like that. The silence on her end lasts 4 seconds. She files a police report that afternoon. It gets logged and assigned a number and forwarded to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center the following morning. Nobody calls you about it. Nothing comes of it immediately. The report goes into a database of hundreds of thousands of similar reports and sits there. But the report exists. With a timestamp. With a case number. With her name and the wire amount and the spoof number and everything she could remember about the call. You find out she has a heart condition 2 weeks later while you're going back through her social media looking for something else. You read the post twice, something her daughter wrote after a hospital appointment, about monitoring and medication and being careful. You close the tab. You sit there for a minute. Then you open the editing software again. Because here's the thing you've already worked out, and you haven't stopped thinking about it since the wire cleared. The call worked because of information. Public information. Information she put there herself without knowing it could be used this way. And Helen isn't the only person on Facebook with grandchildren and a trusting nature and a family whose faces and voices are all over the internet in birthday videos and Christmas reels. There are millions of them. You open a new project file. You start building the workflow. It takes 3 hours. At the end of it, you have something that can scale. Level 2. The face. The voice alone has a ceiling. You figured that out in the first week of running the workflow. Not every target converts. Some of them hang up. Some of them say they'll call back, which means they're about to call the real grandson, which means the call is dead. The ones who hesitate long enough to think it through stop believing the voice and start asking questions you can't answer without knowing details you don't have. But here's what you notice. The ones who saw something before the call don't hesitate. You start sending a video clip 2 minutes before you call. 30 seconds. No audio needed. Just the image of a young man who looks like someone's grandson. Visible distress. A setting that reads as a hospital waiting area. You pull the source material from public Instagram accounts. Birthday videos, Christmas reels, the kind of footage families post because they want people to see it. You have enough frames from a single 30-second video to build a convincing face model. The AI does the rest. The clip arrives as a text. Asterisk, this is me. Please don't call mom. I'm okay, but I need help. Asterisk, the target opens it and sees their grandson's face. By the time your call comes through 2 minutes later, they've already decided to believe. You're not asking them to trust a voice anymore. You're confirming what they've already seen with their own eyes. The conversion rate goes from 1 in 3 to 2 in 3. Across 3 months you work through 37 targets. 22 answer. 16 wire money after receiving the clip. The average per target is just under $4,000, higher than before, because the video makes people wire more. When you can see someone's face you wire more. That's just how it works. Total, $67,000. You're not spending any of it visibly. It sits in accounts you set up for this specifically, accessed through devices that aren't registered to you, through networks that aren't yours. You're still in the same apartment. You still look the same to anyone who knows you. The work looks the same from the outside too. Someone at a laptop, headphones on, doing whatever it is people do at laptops with headphones on. The second mechanism arrives by accident in the fourth week. You're building a target profile and you notice her social media platform requires a video selfie for account recovery, a 3-second clip to verify identity before restoring access. You generate the deepfake selfie from her profile photos. You submit it. It passes. You're inside her account. You send a short distress message to her followers as her. A car accident. Hospital. Needs help. Please don't call. Just send. 4 of her friends send money within 40 minutes because the message is coming from someone they love and trust and have known for 20 years. You haven't spoken to any of them. You haven't called anyone. You were never on a call. You were never on the line at all. You sit with that for a moment. Then you start building the account takeover into the workflow alongside the call method. The two mechanisms run in parallel now. The call method for targets with accessible family content. The account takeover for targets whose platforms have video-based identity verification. Different preparation time, different average yield, same underlying technology. You're generating maybe $12,000 a week across both methods on a good week. You work 4 to 5 hours a day. The rest of the time the accounts are sitting there earning nothing, which bothers you in a way that the other parts of this don't. Here's what you don't think about. The 4 people who sent money to the hacked account knew the account's owner personally. They wired money because they believed she was in trouble. 2 of them called her afterwards to check she was okay and discovered she had no idea what they were talking about. One of them, a woman in her 60s who'd been friends with the target for 23 years, drove to her house at 9 in the evening to make sure she was actually there. She was. She answered the door confused. They sat in the kitchen for an hour trying to understand what had happened. You don't know any of this because you didn't stay to find out. You took the money and closed the tab and moved to the next profile on the list. What you do know is that the second mechanism is more efficient. No call required. No live performance. You just need the platform to trust your face. Level 3. The call. Bobby finds you on a private forum in the 6th month. He's been running business email compromise for 2 years, fake invoices, redirected supplier payments. The kind of fraud that works until the finance team starts verifying by phone. He's good at identifying targets. He's good at the paperwork. What he can't do is make a call that someone can't hang up on. He messages you with a specific question. Can you generate a live video call that looks like a company CFO? You tell him you can. He asks what it costs. You tell him a flat fee per successful call, paid after the wire clears. He says that works. You spend 2 weeks on the preparation. You pull 3 executives from publicly available conference footage, earnings calls, industry panels, the kind of content companies post on YouTube to look transparent. 3 seconds of clean audio is enough for the voice model. 30 seconds of clear video is enough for the face. All of it public. All of it free. Bobby sends you the target, a mid-sized logistics company, a finance manager named Sarah, a CFO whose face and voice you've now rebuilt from 11 minutes of public footage. Bobby has already sent a series of legitimate-looking emails over the previous week establishing context for an urgent wire transfer. By the time the video call happens, Sarah is already expecting something. The call lasts 14 minutes. Sarah sees her CFO's face. She hears his voice. She asks 2 clarifying questions about the transfer destination and he, you, through the model, answers both correctly because Bobby pulled those details from the company's public filings. She authorizes a $340,000 transfer. You watch the call end on your screen. You close the software. You sit back. You've been in your apartment the entire time. You haven't spoken to Sarah. You haven't spoken to the CFO. You were never in the room where any of it happened. You text Bobby 1 word. He pays you within the hour. Here's what you never see. Sarah is interviewed by her company's cybersecurity team for 3 hours the following morning. She's 29 years old, and she's been doing this job for 4 years without a single error. She did everything correctly. The face was right. The voice was right. The context was right. There was nothing to catch. The cybersecurity team tells her this. She knows. She still doesn't sleep well for 6 weeks after. You don't know about the 3 hours or the 6 weeks because Bobby handles the downstream and you don't ask questions about the downstream. Bobby has 2 other operators working targets. He brings you their jobs too. Over the next 11 months, you run 14 calls. 8 succeed. The 6 that don't fail for operational reasons. A target who happens to call the real executive back before authorizing. A transfer flagged by the bank's fraud system. 1 call where the face model degrades mid-call and the finance manager ends it without saying why. The 8 that succeed generate $2.3 million in total wire transfers. Your cut across all 8 calls is $180,000. You handle none of the money directly. It moves through Bobby's downstream accounts, and your flat fee arrives separately through a channel you set up in the 2nd month specifically for this. You're still in the same apartment. You're still working 4 to 5 hours a day. You've bought nothing visible. The $180,000 sits in a crypto wallet on a hardware device in a desk drawer. Bobby is careful. You are careful. The operators Bobby uses are careful. Nobody uses real names. Nobody meets in person. Communication happens through encrypted channels that delete after 24 hours. You've never heard Bobby's actual voice. You know his forum handle and his payment method and nothing else. This feels like enough. What none of you know, the FBI Cyber Division has been running a separate investigation into Bobby's business email compromise operation since month 3 of your arrangement. They've been building the case slowly, waiting for something significant enough to justify the full takedown. The $2.3 million in deepfake video fraud is significant enough. By the time you're generating your 14th call, there is a warrant with your name on it that has been ready for 6 weeks. The FBI is waiting for the same thing the DEA waited for in a different city in a different investigation. The right moment to take everyone simultaneously. You're working from the same desk you've always worked from. Nothing looks different from the outside. From the inside of a federal investigation, it looks exactly like what it is. Level 4. The metadata. The file that ends it is one you sent before the first corporate call. 6 weeks before Bobby introduced you to the logistics company, he sent you a link to download a video file. Publicly available conference footage of the CFO. Higher resolution than anything you'd pulled from YouTube. You downloaded it, used it to sharpen the face model, and moved on. What you didn't notice is that the file had been passed through a generation tool that embeds a session token in the metadata of any video processed through its API. The token is unique to the account that ran the processing. The account is linked to a credit card. You bought the credit card at a convenience store 14 months ago. You used cash for everything after that first week. This one card, this one purchase, this one time. That's the thread the FBI pulls. The store has security camera footage. The footage shows your face. The FBI's forensic team pulls your API logs on a Thursday morning. The logs show every session token, every generation request, every timestamp across 14 months of work. The session token in the CFO's conference file matches a generation session that also produced the voice clone used in the call to Helen. The same account. The same card. Helen's IC3 report. The one she filed the same afternoon you ran the workflow for the first time. The one that went into a database of hundreds of thousands of similar reports and sat there. Gets cross-referenced with the search warrants. The spoof number she reported traces to a VoIP service that you paid for with the same credit card. Her $1,200 and Bobby's $2.3 million are in the same federal indictment because of one prepaid card bought at a convenience store 14 months ago. Bobby is arrested on a Wednesday morning. He cooperates within the hour. He gives the FBI everything they don't already have. The forum handle, the encrypted channel structure, the downstream accounts, the names of the 2 operators. By Wednesday afternoon, the picture is complete. You're arrested at your apartment. 2 agents. Plain clothes. The operation laptop is still open on the desk when they come through the door. The hardware wallet is in the drawer. The generation tool is running a session in the background. You were mid-build on something when the knock came. The charges are federal. Wire fraud. Computer fraud. Identity theft. Aggravated identity theft carries a mandatory consecutive sentence on top of the wire fraud guidelines. The total exposure before any cooperation credit is 11 years. You don't cooperate. There's nothing left to give them. Bobby gave it all within the hour, and the API logs gave the rest. Your lawyer explains that your only option is to plead and hope the guidelines come down with acceptance of responsibility. They do slightly. You're sentenced to 7 years. Helen attends the sentencing hearing. She's 71. She tells the court that the worst part wasn't the $1,200. She says she replays the call sometimes. Not the voice, which she knows now is generated, but her own voice, the way she said, of course, sweetheart, tell me where to send it. She says she didn't sleep properly for months. She says she still sometimes picks up her phone to call her grandson just to hear that he's fine. He always is. That part was never the problem. You served 7 years in a federal correctional facility. You come out at 43 with a federal wire fraud conviction and a 7-year employment gap and nothing in the desk drawer because the hardware wallet was seized on day 1. You apply to 15 jobs in 3 months. 12 don't respond. 2 reply with a polite rejection after the background check. 1 hires you as a warehouse stock associate at $14 an hour. The voice cloning tool you used to clone your grandmother's voicemail in that 1-bedroom apartment all those years ago has been superseded by 3 generations of better software. The specific technique you pioneered, the 2-minute video clip before the call, is now documented in every major FBI elder fraud training module as the standard attack pattern to watch for. You taught them that. Every elder fraud awareness video, every corporate cybersecurity briefing that mentions the 2-minute clip technique, that's yours. Published without your name on it. It just took 7 years to file the lesson. The voice was always synthetic. The metadata was always real. You never checked what the tool was logging while you worked.